Shocking twist. A poor maid with a baby saves a billionaire no one would help. The storm raged outside, thunder rolling like the sky was angry about something dark lurking just out of sight. In that chaotic night, the city of Birchwood felt alive with secrets. Little Alice, the maid, cradled her newborn against her chest, the infant's breast soft, innocent compared to the wild winds howling just beyond the rain-drenched window. In a split second, everything shifted from her tiny apartment. She watched as shadows danced across the streets, illuminated by flashes of lightning. The rumors whispered through the air. Someone important was in trouble. A billionaire, renowned for his ruthless business dealings, was now trapped in a car submerged in rising waters. People stood watching, phones out, snapping pics, but who would dare save him? Blood money didn't earn loyalty, they said. Alice's heart thudded in her chest. She knew fear all too well. But tonight, something ignited in her spirit. Somehow, she felt like fate had dropped a key into her palm, and it was up to her to unlock the door. She dashed out into the chaos, water splashing beneath her worn shoes. What could she do? Was she crazy? The city lights flickered like stars dying in a storm. Rain fell in heavy sheets, turning the streets into rivers. Waves crashed against the car's windows, where the billionaire sat, wide-eyed and desperate. Was that a flicker of hope in his eyes, pleading for salvation? Or was it simply the fear of drowning in the truth of his loneliness? Then Alice spotted a group of bystanders, murmurs of disbelief suspended in the air. "Let him drown," one voice rang out, disgust coloring their words. But others just stared, frozen by the spectacle. In that moment, Alice felt the suffocating weight of their judgment. A lump formed in her throat. Why did lives hold different values? Uncertainty gripped her as she approached the escalating waves. She could feel the eyes of the crowd boring into her, thick with disbelief and judgment. Yet, she took another step forward. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Could she really pull him to safety? Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated her way. It was now or never. But what would happen if she failed? Could a simple maid and her baby really stand against the horror of greed and indifference swirling around her? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain pounded harder, as if the universe demanded an answer, a choice. Alice braced herself and lunged toward the car. It felt like running against the wind itself, heart racing, fear thrumming through her veins. Would the world only watch and let lives slip away? Or would she defy fate and become a beacon of hope in a storm of despair? She couldn't turn back now, but would she become the hero this night so desperately needed, or simply another face lost to the tide? The water was frigid, sloshing over Alice's ankles as she stepped closer to the car. Each wave crashed harder, pulling at her legs, trying to drag her back into the safety of the shore. But with every surge, determination pulsed within her. She could see the man more clearly now, his terrified face illuminated for just a moment. It wasn't just fear she witnessed. There was something deeper, something desperate. "Help!" His voice cut through the howling wind, cracking like thunder. In that instant, Alice felt her breath catch in her throat. Her heart ached for the man trapped in his own isolated turmoil. Blood money or not, he was still a human being fighting for his life. She tightened her grip on her daughter, the baby having grown quiet as if sensing the shift in her mother's resolve. Alice was terrified for them both, but she felt an unbreakable bond with the man in peril. Was that what being human was all about? Nobody's gonna save you. Someone called out from the crowd, laughter mixed with hostility. Alice glanced back at the gathering mass, their eyes like cold stones, watching with morbid curiosity. The noise of the rain drummed on, drowning out their disdain. She couldn't let their sneers stop her now. With a deep breath filled with purpose, she reached the car's door, trying to pull it open. It felt heavy, like it was anchored to the ground below. The water thrashed, rolling in fits of rage around her. She pressed her palm against the glass, feeling the warmth of his panic radiating through the barrier. "Hold on," she shouted, her voice raw, trembling with the weight of her mission. He nodded, desperation fueling a flicker of hope in his eyes. The storm raged around them, and she felt the impossible crash of a wave behind her. "I can't," he began, but she silenced him with a fierce glare. "You can. You just have to trust me." She took a deep breath, summoned every ounce of strength, and pushed herself against the door with everything she had. With a groan, it creaked open, and the waters rushed in. Rain poured down, blurring her vision, but she saw him reaching for her, hand trembling. "Grab me." Just as his fingers grazed hers, the wave surged again. The car shifted, tilting dangerously. Time slowed as Alice grasped his wrist, pulling with all her might. Water surged around them, higher and higher, threatening to swallow her whole. Could she save him, or would it cost her everything? His grip faltered, glancing back at the crowd for a moment, eyes wide with fear that mirrored her own. The noise grew louder, an angry shout mixed with the storm. Suddenly, a sharp crack of thunder roared, rattling the air and startling Alice. The world was closing in on them. With a final, desperate yank, Alice pulled him down, the car door utterly submerged. She felt his strength give way, and with panic threatening to overwhelm her, she wrapped her other arm around him, pulling him toward the surface. They broke free of the water, gasping for breath. But the storm didn't let up. It raged on as they floundered, swirling currents eager to drag them back into the dark abyss. Then, she spotted a small ledge of concrete. They could make it. "Swim!" she shouted through the chaos, fear ebbing into fierce determination. But just when things seemed possible, a flash of lightning illuminated a horrifying sight. A figure stood at the edge of the flood, a sinister smile spreading across his face. It was the very man who had once uttered those chilling words, "Let him drown." Alice's heart plummeted. Who was he? And why was he watching like a predator before the attack? As she pulled the billionaire toward safety, a chilling thought gripped her mind. This rescue was only the beginning of a much darker game. Alice could almost feel her limbs turn to lead as the storm's fury continued to fight against her. The man she clutched, his pulse racing beneath her fingers, fought the instinct to panic as they were both caught in the crashing waves. She pushed through the chaos, determined to reach the ledge. "I can't swim," he gasped, fear evident in his eyes, a flicker of realization and vulnerability cutting through his initial desperation. "Just keep your head above water. We're almost there," Alice screamed, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over her like a heavy shroud. Each stroke felt endless, as if fate itself was testing her resolve. With every ounce of energy, she fought against the tide, the rain blinding her, the wind howling like a banshee. The concrete ledge loomed closer, but the once faint glimmer of hope was dimming. Would she even make it there? And what awaited them on dry land? Suddenly, the dark figure from the edge moved, stepping forward through the downpour, as if the storm surrounding them was merely an inconvenience. A chill ran down Alice's spine as the man's smile widened, his eyes glinting with something sinister and knowledge, perhaps, that she was yet to understand. "Help them, someone!" a voice rang out from the gathering crowd. But Alice could sense the hesitance, the unwillingness. They were not there to help. They were merely spectators to an unfolding tragedy. Just then, a swell of water knocked Alice off balance. She released the billionaire's wrist, grasping for anything to steady herself. A terrifying wave crashed over them, and for a split second, darkness enveloped them both. The world was a murky blur, and panic welled in Alice's throat. But then her instincts kicked in. She jabbed her arms into the watery abyss, adrenaline bursting, kicking, thrashing, clawing her way back to the surface. When she finally emerged breathless, the ledge was just within reach. She could see his face, but he was flailing. "Grab my ankle," she yelled, her voice raw and frantic. She extended her leg, trying to let him know he could cling to her as she struggled to find the ground that had all but eroded under her feet. Yet, just as she managed to get a grip on the ledge, his hands found purchase on her calf, pulling her down. "No!" she screamed, fighting against the panic. With one final kick, she pushed herself upward. She propelled herself onto the concrete and dragged him with her, clawing up over the edge, her heart racing as they landed, gasping and sputtering into rain-soaked safety. Alice collapsed, breathless, her heart hammering beneath her ribs. She turned to the billionaire, who was blinking rapidly, confusion and gratitude swirling in his tired eyes. But the impending danger pulled her from the moment. That sinister figure still loomed, an eerie presence beneath the storm's wrath. He remained unfazed, watching the two of them with a smirk, as if their survival was a mere amusement, a cruel game he had concocted. "What do you want from us?" Alice yelled, rage boiling. "Not from you," he replied, voice steady, unfazed by the chaos. "From him?" Alice's stomach twisted into knots. She rolled her eyes to the man beside her, and for the first time, a realization dawned. This situation went far beyond their current struggle. Danger didn't just lurk in the wave. It had a face. As the reins pulled back slightly, and the crowd murmured with a newfound sense of tension, she clung to the billionaire resolutely. She knew in her bones that this rescue was just the start of an unfathomable soccer game. What secrets did her new companion hold? What dark truths were waiting to be revealed? With another rumble of thunder, Alice understood she had stepped from one storm into another. Alice's mind raced, the remnants of adrenaline coursing through her as she took in the chilling sight of the shadowy figure. What could he possibly want from the man beside her? She could feel the billionaire's trembling form against her, each shaky breath a reminder that they weren't out of danger yet. "Stay close to me," she whispered, her voice low, urgent. She could hear the murmurs of the crowd nearby, their tone laden with unease. Fear trickled into her thoughts. Were they watching to mock, or were they waiting for some kind of spectacle? The rich man glanced at her, his brow creasing with confusion. Who is that?" he stammered, his voice barely more than a whisper against the storm's fury. "I don't know." But I think before she could finish, a distant clap of thunder echoed, pulsing through the air, mirroring her heartbeat, the sound almost like a warning. "Your life is in his hands now," the figure called out, his voice cutting through the rain like a knife. He took a step forward, the lightning illuminating his face for a brief moment. His smirk twisted, distorting his features into something that felt both familiar and grotesque. "What does that mean?" Alice shouted, ignoring the panic rising in her throat. "What have you done? Tell him to be careful." The figure's words seemed to wrap around her, the laughter beneath them chilling her to the bone. "Every choice has its price." Alice turned back to the billionaire, his face pale and drawn, his confusion morphing into fear. "You need to tell me something, anything. Do you know him?" He shook his head violently. "I don't, I swear. I just wanted to get some air." "I didn't know." Suddenly, the smirk on the figure's face faded. "Oh, but he is quite the important player in this game, isn't he? The world is watching, you know." They all turn their eyes away, but not before they see the truth unveiled. "Stop it!" Alice snapped, feeling a surge of anger explode within her. She glanced to the crowd. Somebody help us! You can't let him get away with this. Yet, their faces turned away, casting eyes to the ground or shielding their faces against the pouring rain. She felt a surge of despair, as though she carried the weight of their indifference on her shoulders. Each heartbeat pounded loudly in her ears, as the billionaire gripped her arm tightly. What do we do? How do we get out of here? And here's the rub, the dark figure mused, drawing near. The only way to survive is to face the choices you've made. What choices? Alice demanded, her voice shaking. She couldn't think straight. The waves still crashed behind them, wild and merciless, but all she could focus on was the man's gaze, piercing, invasive, assuring her of a truth she wasn't ready to confront. He enjoyed her discomfort, reveling in it, each word laced with malice. Let us see how brave you really are, little maid. One more storm is coming, and you'll have to decide who will you save. Darkness gathered around them as thunder rumbled again, the air thick with tension. Alice took a step back, her heart racing as fear twisted inside her. There was no obvious way out. Only the storm raging above, and the man whose existence hung precariously between life and death. What do you mean? The gravity of his words sank into her. Who would she choose to save, and would she even be able to? The figure's eyes sparkled with something otherworldly, and his grin spread as the storm grew louder, echoing the chaos brewing in her heart. As the rain pounded harder against the concrete ledge, Alice knew she had to act fast. The winds were changing, and so were the stakes. Figure it out, the figure whispered, his voice swallowed by the night, leaving her with only the sound of crashing waves and the looming sense of dread. And then it hit her, a realization drenched in horror. She would have to choose. But what if the storm wasn't external? What if this was a tempest brewing within, raging against the very core of who she was? With a final clash of thunder, she took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage she could muster. But in that moment, she knew. Her next move could unleash more than just a storm. It could tear apart lives, including her own. What decision would she make? And who would pay the price? Alice's mind was swirling, a storm of thoughts battling for dominance as the figure's words echoed in her ears. She could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on her shoulders. The rain kept falling, stinging her skin, and the wind howled like a restless ghost. Who do I save? She whispered to herself, making sense of the impossibility. Behind her, the billionaire trembled, his grip tightening around her arm. Alice, I'm scared. His voice was edged with panic, and she knew he was inching towards despair. The figure stepped closer, closer still, the shadows deepening around him like a cloak. You can't save everyone. Time is running out. His laughter rang hollow against the roar of the storm, a sound devoid of humanity. Alice's heart thundered louder than the storm. What have you done to him? She shot back, but deep down she realized the truth. Nobody truly understood the full extent of their choices. Sometimes the consequences popped up when least expected. Nothing yet. The figure called out mockingly. But watch closely. The world will witness what unfolds. The crowd was only a distant noise now, their fear apparent, but their indifference heavier than the downpour. She could hardly see their faces, as the rain blurred the edges. It felt as if they were merely shadows, mere actors in this twisted play, where she was unwillingly cast as the lead. Please, Alice, the billionaire pleaded, his eyes wide and desperate. I don't want to die. Not like this. Her heart sank. I won't let that happen. I promise. But she had already spoken words that could crack under pressure. The shiver down her spine felt like betrayal. What if she couldn't hold up the promise? Lightning cracked above them, illuminating his face again, a vulnerable, shaken man who once stood untouchable on the highest tower of society. In that moment, he was just a man who needed her. Choose wisely, the figure taunted, dark eyes glinting with malevolence. One will perish, and one will live. The weight of his words settled into the pit of her stomach, heavy and foreboding. It didn't just signify a choice. It elaborated a sick twist of fate, forcing her to confront her own worst fears. Did the world really be that cruel? For a moment, the tempest within her raged even harder than the storm outside. She struggled with the knowledge ripped from the depths of her heart. What if saving the billionaire meant sacrificing someone she loved? Is this some kind of game to you? She demanded, the rawness in her voice whetted against the howling wind. The figure tilted his head, his grin widening. Perhaps it's a lesson. Perhaps it's just sport. Either way, the clock is ticking. In the thrumming silence that followed, Alice's world narrowed, focused only on the decision she was being forced to make, the fears and regrets contorting her thoughts. Love blinds us to what we truly need, the figure added, his voice a fugue of darkness reveling in her strife. Her breath caught a powerful wave crashed within her. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within. Would she sacrifice a part of her soul to preserve a stranger's life? And that realization made her heart ache. Wouldn't that be worth it? But the flicker of realization couldn't snuff out the shadow of doubt. The crowd still stood frozen, waiting for either a miracle or a tragedy. Only their eyes remained, hunting for a resolution. "What will you do?" echoed the figure's voice across the thundering night, deceptively gentle yet tinged with madness. Alice took a deep breath, trying to summon all she had. 2 lives hang in the balance. I have to make the choice. And as she stared into the billionaire's frightened eyes, and felt the darkness closing in, one question loomed larger than all. How far was she willing to go to save him? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a powerful gust swept through, dragging away her words into the void, raking at her frame with icy blades that cut deeper than the storm's ferocity. What do I truly value? With this thought crystallizing in her brain, the chaos flared, and she realized the decision. Wasn't he solely hers? The true price of saving one is often far more costly than anyone can imagine. And in his chilling laughter, Alice sensed the storm was just beginning. What would become of her next step? Alice shivered, the storm whipping at her cheeks like a dozen angry hands. There was no time left. Around her, the atmosphere crackled with tension, the crowd a collection of muted gasps, afraid to move, half hoping for a miracle that felt out of reach. Her gaze darted between the figure cloaked in shadow and the billionaire, whose fear-filled eyes mirrored her own uncertainty. The figure's laugh skated across her nerves, an eerie reminder of the decision she had to make. With rain pouring down her back, Alice felt the ghostly tendrils of dread gripping her heart. "What do I choose?" she murmured, the words escaping into the storm, like a forgotten prayer. "Choose wisely," the figure echoed, as if her hesitation spurred him on. His arrogance fueled something dark and enticing within her, but she wouldn't let it take hold. A sense of urgency clawed at her. Somewhere in the distance, lightning illuminated shadows of those waiting for her decision. Faces blurred, but she could see their collective breath hitching, as if they all shared the weight of her choice. "I can't do this." The billionaire's pleas pulled at the edges of her resolve. "Alice, please. You have the power. Just stop." She shot back, desperation bubbling under the surface. "I'm trying. But how can I save someone when choosing means hurting someone else?" The tremor in her voice cut through the storm, targeting the heart of her dilemma. The figure smirked, a predator reveling in the chaos. "Ah, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's not just about you anymore. It's about your ability to confront your own darkness, to weigh whom you really value." Alice's throat tightened. Who did she truly value? She could hear her mother's laugh, the scent of home-cooked meals, memories flooding her mind's eye. But then she thought of the lives intertwined with hers, her little sister. "No," she whispered, refusing to give him the satisfaction of watching her falter. The memories felt like shackles, grounding her to a reality she wished to escape. Just as anguish threatened to swallow her whole, a sound broke through an unexpected cry above the storm. Alice turned instinctively, her heart racing. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, soaked and clutching a baby to her chest. The mere sight of them sent shivers down Alice's spine. "Someone help!" the woman shouted, her voice strained yet relentless. "I can't find shelter. Please!" Panic erupted within her, gnawing at the guilt that already crowded her thoughts. The echoes of the storm outside only amplified a reality she couldn't ignore. A struggle to save the billionaire while this mother and child stood vulnerable, exposed to danger. "There's someone else," whispered the figure, dark satisfaction in his tone. "This changes things." "What do I do?" Alice cried aloud, her voice battling with the tempest. "Am I supposed to save him or them?" The billionaire's grip on her arm slackened, and he looked toward the woman, eyes widening in horror. "Alice, we're losing time. You can't forget about me." But it wasn't just about him anymore. Each desperate cry from the woman reverberated through her, a call to action she couldn't ignore. The shadows lengthened around Alice as she faced fate, uncertainty mixed with empathy tightened the air. She could hear the figure's laughter blend with the howl of the wind. Time is running out. Who will it be? In that eerie solidarity of the storm, realization dawned. The storm was both outside and within. It choreographed a dance of choices flickering before her. And if I save them? She felt a weight lift momentarily, but was it real? Or just another ill-fated decision, leading her deeper into chaos? Time, she realized, felt like a noose tightening around the trinity of lives tangled in this dark play. As the thunder rumbled ominously overhead, Alice stepped forward, a decision boiling just below the surface. She took a breath, exhaling her doubt. "You can't force me to choose, but I can find a way." And just as she felt the stirrings of an unconventional plan forming in her mind, the ground beneath them trembled, shaking the very foundation of the storm. The figure's laughter dimmed momentarily. "A bold choice. But remember, every decision has a cost." Fear coursed through her veins, but uncertainty morphed into determination. Could she save them both? As lightning split the sky and illuminated her path, Alice resolved to challenge the fate that sought to ensnare her. But in the flicker of that light, a chilling realization struck. What if her plan doomed them all before she even got the chance to act? How far would she truly go to confront destiny, and what would be lost in the process? A sudden crack of thunder drowned out all other sounds, a deafening roar that sent tremors through Alice's bones. The ground rumbled beneath her feet, as if it acknowledged the weight of her decision. Her heart raced, frantic with uncertainty, as she turned her gaze back to the woman, the mother pleading for help, the baby cradled tightly against her chest. With each pulse of lightning, flashes illuminated their faces, framing the raw desperation etched into their features. The mother's eyes sparkled with fear, darting between Alice and the approaching storm. Time was slipping from her fingers like water. Every heartbeat screamed at Alice to act, to save them. "Stay!" The billionaire's voice cut through her swirling thoughts, but she felt his grip loosen entirely. In that moment, he faded, just another shadow in the chaos. "Help!" the woman cried again, her voice trembling with emotion. "Please! I don't know where to go. I won't let anything happen to you. Just stay close," Alice shouted back, her fingers trembling as she squinted into the torrential rain. The figure in the shadows remained silent, watching her like a hawk, anticipation glinting in his eyes. The wind howled, twisting around her, pushing her toward a decision that felt monumental. Could she save them both? The thought slipped into her mind like a whisper or a promise. "I'll find a way," she shouted defiantly at the storm, surprising herself with her own strength. A flash of inspiration struck her. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, igniting a spark of clarity in the chaos swirling within. Alice steeled herself, looked straight at the figure, and challenged, "You think I'm just going to choose one over the other? Watch me." She turned back to the mother, her voice softening. "Follow me. We'll stick together. I promise." With a quick glance to the billionaire, torn between hope and despair, she took a step forward. "You come on. We have to find some cover." Lightning crackled overhead, but Alice forged ahead, each step an act of rebellion against the figure's dark command. The rain lashed against her, every drop like icy needles, but she felt warmth surge within her, a mixture of resolve and fear, a potent cocktail pushing her forward. "Where?" the mother gasped, panting as she stumbled behind Alice, the baby's tiny face hidden away under a drenched blanket. "There." An outcropping. Alice pointed toward a jagged rock formation just ahead, a half-formed shelter against the raging storm. Dread clawed at her throat as she glanced back at the figure, who remained still, observing, amusement dancing in his icy eyes. In that moment, Alice's heart sank. "This was supposed to be my choice," she whispered to herself. "But what if I can't save them at all?" She didn't have clarity then, but her gut screamed at her to continue. The path to the outcropping was narrow and slick, but Alice led the way, pushing aside her burning anxiety. She could feel the air shift around her like a beast poised to strike, and each step felt like a countdown to revelation. Every instinct urged her to flee, to shield herself from the ticking clock of destiny. When they reached the formation, Alice quickly turned to look at the woman and the child. Relief momentarily washed over her as they huddled together. The rumbling thunder drew nearer, echoing her pulse as her heart pounded in her chest. But just as they settled into the crag, she realized the figure was following. The laughter rose anew, mingling with the roar of the storm, a sound too sinister to ignore. "Did you really think you could escape?" the figure taunted from the shadows, his gaze penetrating the rain. Alice's breath hitched. "What are you planning? What do you want from us?" She had to know. "Let us just say, the storm may not be the greatest threat tonight," his voice dripped with dark excitement. "You haven't truly confronted your choices yet, Alice." Terror clenched her stomach. What did he mean? Was he planning to unleash something worse? And as fear lanced through her, an unsettling thought crossed her mind. What if the true nature of the storm wasn't just the weather, but the very choices that had brought her here? With the winds growing louder and the storm drawing closer, Alice faced the woman, adrenaline turning into resolve. "We need to get out of here now." They couldn't be sitting ducks, waiting for fate to decide. And yet, just as Alice turned to lead them out of the crag, an exclamation pierced the chaos, a blood-curdling scream that echoed across the storm. Time was no longer on her side, and the true darkness waiting just beyond the storm made her realize their escape had only just begun. Would they brave the storm only to face something far worse waiting just beyond? Alice's heart pounded in her chest, almost drowning out the relentless drone of the rain above them. The scream, like a lash of thunder, still echoed in her ears, a reminder that danger lurked close by, just out of sight. "Stay close," she urged the frightened mother, her voice barely reaching above the wind. Where is it coming from?" the woman gasped, her eyes wide with terror. "I don't know," Alice admitted, every instinct screaming for her to flee. But there was nowhere to go. The storm closed in around them like a tightening noose. Just beyond the sheltering rocks, shadowy figures flitted in and out of the darkness, hunched silhouettes, their movements jerky and unnatural. "It's not safe here," Alice said, anxiety prickling at her skin. She needed a plan. They needed a safe escape. Suddenly, the figure slipped into view again, illuminated for just an instant by a flash of lightning. His gaze held a twisted satisfaction, eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can hide?" he purred mockingly. "You've made your choice, Alice. You chose hope, but hope rarely survives a storm. Another scream erupted, piercing the night air, and Alice's blood ran cold. It wasn't just the wind anymore. It was the sound of desperation, of anguish echoing through the shadows. She could feel the mother's shuddering breath next to her, the weight of fear thickening in the air. "Listen," Alice said quickly, urgency sharpening her edge. "We need to get behind that large tree, see it?" She pointed to a gnarled oak that loomed a few yards ahead, its roots twisted like fingers gripping the earth. "It should provide some cover." The mother nodded, her determination bolstered by Alice's resolve. "Okay, let us go." Alice led the way, pushing aside the raw instinct to turn back, her heart racing with every step. As they approached the tree, the shadows morphed into something more tangible, dark forms shifting on the fringe of the storm's grasp. "Keep moving. Don't look back," Alice shouted, adrenaline surging like fire in her veins. Desperation fueled her legs as she urged them into a sprint, the pounding rain drenching them to the bone. They dashed behind the tree, crouching low among the roots. Alice's breath came in quick bursts, her pulse hammering in her ears. Heart racing, she glanced at the mother, their eyes locking in a shared moment of terror. "What if they find us?" the woman whispered, clinging to her child, as if that fragile bond could ward off whatever prowled outside their sanctuary. "We can't think like that," Alice said firmly, though her own heart trembled with the thought. "We have to be strong. We'll find a way out. Together." But doubt gnawed at her. The figure's words reverberated in her mind. "You haven't truly confronted your choices yet. What did that mean?" Suddenly, a low growl rumbling from the forest sent chills down their spines. It echoed ominously, weaving through the howling wind. Shadows flickered like flames as something approached, slow, deliberate, and possibly stealthy. Alice held her breath, eyes darting around for any sign of danger. The sounds of claws scraping against bark split the air, mixed with heavy, panting breaths. In a heartbeat, reality twisted into nightmare. "Behind you," the mother gasped. Alice spun around, her heart leaping into her throat as her wide eyes found the source of that dreadful noise. Emerging from the darkness was a hulking mass, part shadow, part beast, its red eyes glimmering like the embers of a dying fire. Time slowed. Fear wrapped itself around her heart like a vice. This wasn't the storm she had to fear, it was what lurked within it. As the creature stepped closer, Alice's instincts kicked in. She had to fight. But how could they hope to survive against something so primal? "Run!" she screamed, but the moment was stretching, every second haunted by the monstrous breath. And then, from somewhere deep within, she felt the flicker of resilience ignite. She would face the shadow, and she would face the choice that awaited her. But in that heartbeat of resolve, she realized what she must confront might not only be a storm or a creature, but the darkness within herself. And as the creature lunged forward, a primal roar shattering the stranglehold of fear, Alice wondered what other secrets lay hidden in the shadows waiting for her to discover. Alice's scream dissolved into the chaotic night as the beast lunged. Her body yanked against instinct. Fight or flight, every option felt inadequate against the snapping jaws that sought prey. She shoved the mother and child deeper into the roots of the tree, heart racing like thunder above them. "Now!" she shouted, scrambling for the boy's wrist to pull him forward. Panic charged her words as she pushed them behind the gnarled trunk. "Stay down." But the beast halted, nostrils flaring, sniffing the air like a predator honing in on its scent. Its eyes gleamed, reflecting their fear. She could see the muscles ripple beneath fur that absorbed the shadows, thickly built, ready to pounce. "This isn't real," Alice whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Her hand shook as she fumbled for anything, a branch, a rock, something, anything to defend them. But the forest floor was too slick and muddy, and she felt utterly powerless. "Maybe it will just go away," the mother murmured, clutching her child tighter, hope breaking like glass. Alice knew they couldn't rely on luck in a storm, not now. "Listen to me. We have to move," Alice urged, her voice sharp. As if summoned by her determination, a crack of lightning illuminated the creature. A low growl rumbled from its throat, and it crouched, ready to strike. "Make a noise," Alice said suddenly, thinking of distraction. "Anything. Yell, scream, do something." It was the mother who caught on first. She squeezed her son and, with a sudden roar, let out a fierce bellow that boomed out into the night. "Get away from us." The creature recoiled for a fraction of a second, confused by the unexpected sound. Alice seized the moment, urgency coursing through her veins. She grabbed the boy's wrist and launched herself into the darkness beyond the tree. "Follow me!" Yanking the boy beside her, they darted through the rain-soaked brambles, the world around them a frenzy of chaos and noise. The mother scrambled close behind, breathless and terrified but driven by the instinct to protect her child. They raced like ghosts through the storm, weaving between the trees, all while the guttural growls echoed behind them. Thunder broke overhead, shaking the earth beneath their feet. One moment they were fleeing, the next they froze at a small clearing. Unseen shadows skittered in the corners of their eyes, drawing closer with every heartbeat. Through the noise of the storm, Alice strained her ears, listening for anything that might guide them. The howls of the beast, the crackle of thunder, and the patter of rain formed a symphony of terror. "We need to find shelter," she shouted over the chaos, panic seeping into her words. Just then, she spotted a flicker of light in the distance. It glowed faintly through the curtain of rain what looked like a cabin. Could it be a refuge? "Over there." Alice pointed, the glimmer drawing them forward. Desperation lent wings to their feet as they struggled against the mud. Just as hope ignited in her chest, the ground trembled with a furious roar. The creature had pursued them, relentless and unyielding. A snarl cut through the air as it burst into the clearing. Bloodlust gleamed in its red eyes. "No! Keep moving!" Alice screamed, pushing the mother and child onward, her own heartbeat a metronome of fear. She chose to sprint towards the faint light, praying it would shield them from the dark. But then, as they approached the cabin, a crash echoed from inside. The door swung wide open, revealing a silhouette cloaked in shadow. And before Alice could register who or what it was, she was pulled inside, the door slamming shut behind them. The dark figure blocked the light, and Alice's heart sank. Who was this stranger? Were they friend or foe? A deep instinct urged her to run, but the mother's terrified gaze stopped her. They had already lost so much. "Please," Alice choked out. "We need help." In that breath-drenched silence, the stranger stepped forward, revealing a face Alice couldn't quite place. Recognition washed over her, but so did dread. This moment was the storm's doing every choice. Coiled, waiting to unleash its consequences. As the cabin creaked ominously, Alice's mind raced. Who had they stumbled upon? And what darkness awaited them inside these walls? The air thickened with anticipation, secrets swirling in the shadows, bearing a question that loomed large. Who would emerge unscathed from this fury of choices and chaos? Inside the cabin, the air was cool, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. The flickering lantern cast shadows that danced wildly, resembling the chaos stirring in Alice's mind. The stranger stood before them, face obscured but familiar. "It's about time you found me," he said, a self-satisfied smirk evident in his voice. Alice felt a surge of panic. This was the man who had laughed at them from the edge of the flood. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice trembling yet defiant. She couldn't afford to show fear, not now. His eyes glinted in the dim light, dripping with a dark amusement. "You've played this game well, but it's not over yet." He stepped closer, and Alice instinctively moved to shield the mother and child behind her. "Tell me, How does it feel to take a leap of faith, knowing it could cost you everything? Determination coursed through Alice as she locked eyes with him, the weight of the night pressing on her shoulders. This isn't a game. Lives are at stake, including those behind me. She gestured toward the mother, who was cradling her child, clinging to hope amid the dread. Oh, but that's where you're wrong, he replied, his voice smooth and mocking. Everything about this night has been a game. Yours, his, the crowd outside, everyone has a part to play. The storm howled outside, thunder booming like a monstrous heartbeat, the wind swirling and clawing at the cabin walls. Alice's heart raced. She couldn't let him control her anymore. You want a choice? I'll give you one. She turned to the mother, realization striking her. You have to get out of here. I'll hold him off. No, the mother cried, eyes wide with fear. You can't, Alice. I want to leave you. I want to let you be caught in this storm. This man thrives on our despair. Your child needs you safe. The stranger laughed, a cruel sound. Very noble, isn't it? But do you truly believe sacrificing yourself will save anyone? Alice met his gaze head-on, a fire within igniting. Yes. It's a choice I have to make. For them, for all of us. I want to turn my back. He chuckled darkly, stepping back as if to watch the drama unfold. Let us see how strong your resolve really is. I make no promises. Then I'll make my own, Alice declared. I choose to stand against you. I choose to protect them. The storm may be outside, but it doesn't mean I want to fight it. In that moment, Alice felt something shift. The walls didn't just hold the shadows. They contained the strength of her choices, etched in every decision she had fought through that night. She faced the truth. This dark figure, this storm, was just a reflection of the battles within. As if sensing her newfound resolve, the creature outside prowled, sensing the shift in energy ready to strike. Go! Alice urged the mother. Take your child and run. I'll deal with him. The mother hesitated, torn. And you? What if there's no time for hesitation? This is bigger than us. You must choose survival for your child. I can face him. This darkness is nothing I haven't seen before. With a final glance filled with uncertainty and gratitude, the mother nodded, clutching her child tightly. She turned, the storm pouring in through the cracks of the cabin as they both dashed toward the door, determined to escape. But as they hurried to leave, a sickening laugh echoed in the cabin. Running away. That one to save you. The figure called after them, a storm brewing behind his words. Just go! Alice shouted, the urgency overwhelming her. The mother and child vanished into the torrent outside, and Alice turned to face the dark figure. I want to let your evil consume anyone else. I admire your spirit, Alice, he said, his voice dripping with malice. But ultimately, every hero must face the consequences. Thunder crashed. The lights dimmed. The shadows closed in, twisting and writhing, becoming the very embodiment of her fears. What more do you want from me? She shouted, every inch of her trembling. The figure stepped closer, unsettlingly calm. I want to show you the truth about your choices. You think courage is enough? That it makes you immune to consequence? You're wrong. In that moment, Alice felt the storm shift. The winds howled louder, rain thrashing against the cabin, pounding as if trying to break in. Each drop felt heavy, with the weight of decisions lurking in the dark. That's where you're wrong, Alice said defiantly. I may not be immune, but I can face this. Together. This storm doesn't define me. With every ounce of strength within her, she reached deep inside, her memories flickering like fireflies, guiding her. Her mother's laughter, the childhood moments, her own determination, it all surged forward like a formidable shield against the waves closing in. And just as the beast outside lunged, Alice screamed, summoning the depths of her courage. She wouldn't back down. Your darkness holds no power over me. You're a coward hiding behind fear. The storm shattered and swirled around them, swirling to engulf the monster and the shadow beyond. Then, in a moment of clarity, the figure flickered. She could see it clearly now. He mirrored her insecurities and shame, but also her strength. I choose hope, she shouted, breaking the chains restraining her spirit. In an exploding burst of light, the shadows around her evaporated as she pushed back against them, forcing the darkness to recede. The cabin trembled, and the storm outside began to quiet, revealing the first inklings of dawn breaking through the horizon. Alice. The voice of the mother called faintly from outside. Daylight began filtering in, and a fog of confusion wrapped around the figure. The very ground shook as if in acceptance as the sky cleared. I am more than you let me believe, Alice declared, realizing her choice resonated with truth. I can save others and myself. The darkness won't claim me. As light poured into the cabin, the figure screamed in rage. He dissolved, shadows fading into the dawn. The storm abated, allowing the light to wash over the cabin and break the curse that loomed over her. Emily. They were safe. As she rushed outside, the gleaming sun rising behind her, Alice clung to hope. The mother and child, soaked and weary, emerged from the shadows, enveloped by the warmth of the new day. No one is alone as long as we stand together, Alice breathed, feeling the weight of every choice lift from her shoulders. The battle was won. The storm behind her, she had faced her demons, and with this newfound hope, she wouldn't let the darkness take anyone else. And in that moment, as the light enveloped them, Alice understood. Together, they had defeated the storm. Now it was time to live free from fear. What a powerful resolution for the characters. But let us keep this momentum rolling. You need to subscribe now to catch more heart-pounding stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm with your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on Alice's incredible journey. What did you think of her final choices? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep this community growing. Your engagement makes all the difference.